Welcome back to our podcast or video podcast or webcast or whatever we want to call it, which we do on Thursday nights. This is an exception. I have a couple of exceptions to this where we pre-record something a little bit earlier and push it out to you guys on Thursday nights, which we're going to do tonight. But today we're going to talk about mergers and acquisitions. So this may or may not appeal to you, and if it does, it'll probably be intensely interesting. And if it doesn't, well, then maybe you know somebody that might find it interesting and you pass it along to them. But when we're talking about mergers and acquisitions, and I'm going to let Ruby and Doug talk about the details of this, really what we're talking about is if you have purchased a business, or you're wanting to purchase a business, or you've built a business and you want to know how to exit that business, then this is the information you'll be looking for. So we're delighted to have them on today. And I appreciate very much, Doug and Ruby, that you've taken time out of your day to join us on this. But maybe if you would, to start out, just take a couple of minutes and tell us a little bit about Stillwater Capital and about what you do.
Yeah, I'd be delighted to. So Stillwater Capital is a mid-market mergers and acquisitions advisory firm. There's 15 people here in our office, and we do a few things. We help our clients build businesses through acquisitions. We help our clients sell businesses through a competitive sale process. We work with our clients who are kind of trying to figure out what to do with whether to go by acquisitions or to sell. For some of our clients, we help them arrange money if their balance sheet, if they need funds to grow, if their banking restrictions are difficult, we help them find money. Sometimes for estate purposes or shareholder purposes, tax purposes. Clients need a valuation, we'll do a formal valuation for them. And that's our service offering. We've been doing it for the better part of 20 years now. We've got, I'm not sure if you can see behind us, there's some what we call tombstones. Sounds a bit morbid, but it's not really, it's just a record. We have over 100 tombstones for completed transactions that we've built out over a long period of time. And you can appreciate that with that type of a track record, you get a lot of experience. You also lose your hair a little bit, but you get a lot of experience, and there's not too many things that come up on the road of mergers and acquisitions that we haven't seen, and that we haven't really helped our clients create extraordinary value through the experience that we have and the approaches that we take, and some of the proprietary things that we've been able to develop over that 20-year time frame. We work throughout Canada and the U.S. We're part of a very large global network called Geneva Group International. It's the 6th ranked network in the world behind the 4 accounting firms, BDO and our group. And so we have locations, over 800 locations, professional service providers in 126 countries with 29,000 people. So when we're engaging with our clients, we're bringing that benefit and that value and that bench strength to help our clients get the best outcome every time in every engagement that we do.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. That really is helpful. One of the questions that I have, and maybe our audience would have, is that you said that you're working in the mid-market. Maybe you could define a little bit more carefully for us exactly what that means and what your target market is.
Yeah, that's a great question. And the mid-market for us, it primarily focuses when we're selling businesses. So the mid-market for us is businesses that will typically transact somewhere between $5 million and $150 million. And sometimes you go, oh, that seems pretty arbitrary. Why do you set that? And the primary reason we do that is because the process that we run to sell businesses, it's quite labor intensive. I haven't figured out how to automate myself yet on my team, but at some point hopefully we will, and that'll change that. And it's hard to make our investment in time work for smaller transactions. It's not that the people don't need that, but it's just the way our process is structured. So we will deal with businesses smaller than that, but we have to refine the scope of work that we do. But middle market is typically for us between 5 million of transaction value and 150 million. We'll do bigger, but the practical reality is that's the spot that we operate in best.
That's very helpful. Thank you for that. If someone that was watching this owns a business that has what they would estimate to be a smaller value than that, would you refer to somebody to help them with that process?
Well, one of our core foundations, we have a compassion for people. And in those, what we want to do first is we want to just have a discussion, like an hour or two discussion with them, and just ask them, like walk through what it is that they want to do. And what they need. And sometimes we can service those people because what they already have is they have somebody already in mind to buy the business. So we can work on a consultative basis with those. But in the situation where the business is best suited to have an individual buyer, maybe there's an entrepreneur who's in between, maybe there's a high net worth individual who'd like to buy a business, a manager. We have a handful of people who we trust that we would introduce that to, so that they're adequately served and well served too. In that case.
Excellent. Ruby, I want to jump over to you for a moment, just because you and I know each other, have known each other for several years. And you have some unique experience that you bring to this portion of your professional life. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what the background is, because you have built and sold a couple of businesses along the way. Tell us a little bit about that and how that experience enables you to serve your clients well in this capacity.
That's a great question. So, Steve, always been entrepreneurial, grew up in a big family, where we needed to do that, to be quite frank. And I also come from a public accounting background. And so in public accounting, we helped a lot of clients with this whole process. And then in my professional life, after public accounting, I was involved in some startup businesses. I was involved in a company that during a very deep recession got expanded, and then the bank started pulling the loans. We were in a recession. You know, banks, they say, are sometimes like umbrellas on a sunny day, but when it starts to rain, they pull the umbrella. So I've been there, going to an M&A firm or an investment bank, trying to negotiate, in a bit of a crisis, financing. In addition, I've been involved in businesses that have expanded and purchased other businesses. I've been a controller where we've sold one of our businesses, one of our privately held businesses that was involved in fluid power, and we've sold it to international companies. Even my own practice, prior to this, I was a top performing financial advisor. I've gone through that whole process myself, where selling my own practice, a professional practice, to a buyer. So, that's been a good experience for me to work with entrepreneurs, to say I've been not exactly where you've been, but I understand entrepreneurs, I understand private businesses, and we're both accountants, we've both been in the professional services industry for many years with experience, and that's helped me tremendously.
Excellent. That gives me a good background on this. Maybe there's something that you can share with our audience today. Maybe they're in a place where I think typically entrepreneurs are, where they're really good at what they do, but they're not necessarily good at figuring out how to ever get out of their business. And this is a typical issue. Maybe it is for me too. I don't know what time will tell, but I like to laugh at myself in the process along the way, and the opportunity for me to do webcasts like this also enlightens me as well as our audience, because often they're issues that we're all thinking about. So if someone in our audience is very good at what they do, but they haven't really thought far enough ahead to where they're actually going to get the value out of their business because they're so absorbed in doing it, what advice might you, either one of you, give to that person along the way about how to think about where they need to go, how far into the future they need to think about where to go, and what steps they would begin to take in that process?
I think the biggest issues I've seen, both experienced personally within my family that have had businesses, and sadly, the most dramatic ones are when you don't seek professional advice. So entrepreneurs are problem solvers. We fix, we get it done. That's why we're successful. And what happens is we don't seek the services of somebody that just does this for a living. Steve, you know this with your clients, and your clients are using a financial advisor. People see the value that we know that people that use financial advisors will be 40% better off. And Doug can tell you from his experience, people will get unsolicited offers, and he's going to explain shortly just how impactful that is. And my experience, both in my professional career as an accountant, where, accountants, we think we can do everything, and we didn't go outside the box to hire a specialized M&A advisor, or even in industry where we didn't go to a competitive process, in my family where, somebody approached us and we sold the business, and likely, highly likely, we left money on the table, and that money could be used to fund our retirement, to make the world a better place through giving to a fabulous charity. But I'm going to hand the table over to Doug because he's got the most experience in this, and that's the whole issue: finding somebody excellent, focused on what they do, with experience.
Yeah. So I look at life and a lot of things like this to say, let's start with the end in mind. And what I've seen happen regularly is an entrepreneur has been building a business, and she wakes up one morning, gets a call from the doctor, things aren't well, and now you have to deal with selling the business because life circumstances have changed. And you look at that and you say, well, if you could have rolled the clock back a few years, what would you have done differently? And one of the key things is the concept of reducing the business's reliance on the owners. Because a buyer's going to come and look at the business and say, well, you're the person to the owner, you're the person that's run the business, you kept the books, you've done all the sales, you've handled all the customer relationships, you're everything. If I buy the business and you go home, what's left in the business? So you need to kind of institutionalize, if you want to think about it like that, institutionalize the ownership into the business. So you have people who are, you hire outstanding salespeople, you hire outstanding administrative people, outstanding people to oversee your manufacturing operations. Whatever those are, you build the business so that when the time comes to sell, the owner is not, or the new buyer is not looking at that and seeing there's a lot of risk on the transition of ownership. You want to do it so that there's a smooth transition. That's number one. Number two, you want to keep the business clean. A lot of people that we see are running the business as if it's their own personal piggy bank. And I understand there's tax reasons why people do that. But as you start moving towards the idea of selling the business, it's really helpful to say, let me clean up the balance sheet, let me clean up the income statement. It's, like my wife watches a lot of these selling your house shows, and a key factor is staging. That's a common concept. It's no different when you're selling a business. Clean it up, get the plant cleaned up, get rid of excess inventory, get your receivables in order, get the right people in the right positions, build a decent website so that a person or a corporate buyer comes and looks at that to say, there is something of substance here with a low risk profile, and we are prepared to pay for that.
That is an excellent analogy of the staging. And I can totally relate to the fact that your wife likes to watch those shows. Oh, this is public. Maybe I shouldn't say this. My wife loves to watch those shows. So we're also in the process of getting ready to sell our property. So I'm I'm doing all the painting, trimming, and all of the little things to get ready, and I'm becoming very familiar with what the staging process is.
Yeah.
So when that relates to a business sale, I can understand the value in that, and everything that you've said has totally made sense. We've got a couple more minutes because I know that you guys are on a tight time frame. So I wanted to just open it up to a couple more things. One of the things I wanted to try to clarify for anybody who's watching is the time frame, which is, I think, critically important. So if somebody hopefully is not intending to drop at their desk with the ownership of their business and actually wants to develop a plan to sell and extract the value at some point in time, regardless of maximizing the value and the whole staging process and getting rid of the reliance on themselves and all of those other things, what would be a reasonable time frame that someone should be looking forward to in beginning to engage other professionals in the planning process?
Yeah, it depends on the condition of the business. That can take 3 years if it really needs a long way to go. It can take 6 months if a substantial portion of that. But here's so that's that. Here's the other part of that though, is the question of how long does it actually take to sell a business, which I think is a really critical one, because there's a fallacy I think that floats around that it takes 3 or 4 years to sell your business from the time you decide you're going to sell it to the time you actually sell it. We have, with our process, we're averaging from the time that we go to market with the business, that means when we first start contacting prospective buyers, to the time our client is in funds, we're shooting to have that done in 6 months. So there's a really quick window to do that, and we found that shortening the timelines improves the outcome. So maybe you could do it 6 months, you could do it a year beforehand, and then roll. But I would really start to encourage people to think it's a 6 month time frame. So all those deferred dreams and aspirations, if you're ready, they're 6 months away. If you do it.
One of the things I like to do, Steve, especially I love to work with other advisors. Having been an advisor, and I encourage them to encourage their clients to once a year go through this process. Look, are we growing? Do we still have the passion to continue to grow and expand our business, or should we be selling? And every year, I have a series of 12 questions I used to use with my clients. Is there somebody in place? Is there a family member? Is there a supplier, etc.? And making sure that you engage a professional business advisor and a mergers and acquisition specialist, an investment banker that has experience and a proven track record. And on our website, you'll see there's a proven track record, but making sure that it becomes part of the planning process with business owners, with their advisors. Get that to be a regular thing so that your financial advisor will know, do you have the adequate insurance, God forbid, if something unexpected happens. How much money do I need to get from my business to retire comfortably? These are all such important questions. Often if your business is your biggest asset, or if you're thinking, people are watching this and they're not a business advisor, everybody knows a business owner, everybody shops somewhere, and it is so important. I've looked at Stillwater's past, and there are times when they have nearly quadrupled the first offer that somebody gave them for their business, and leaving that amount of money on the table as a gift to the buyer is probably not what an entrepreneur who invested their life and so much of their energy developing this business would want. And I'm sure, Steve, you would not want that for your clients either. leaving
Correct.
that money on the table.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that's kind of like winning the lottery.
For the buyer, yeah, not for your client.
No, but certainly, certainly for the people who are who are in a position where they are beginning to think about selling, if they have an idea in mind, you know, you and I have both encountered this with working with our clients as advisors, where, you know, we talk about, you know, do you ever want to downsize your property at some point in time? Oh yeah, you know, I'm finding the house to be a little much, and you know, I was thinking I might want to downsize in a few years. Well, how much do you think your property is worth? And then they come to find out that it's worth, you know, $250,000 more than they thought it was worth. So those things are really important. So you brought up some great points. I would love to have some more conversation with the two of you regarding this, because we certainly, we would certainly love to be able to provide an opportunity, not only for our clients, but for all of the people who, you know, are connected to our client base, to make sure that there's access to information. They know where to go, because this is often where people stumble, is they get to this point where they begin to think about this and they don't even know who to call. They don't even know where to start. So I want to thank the two of you for,
Steve,
go ahead, Doug.
Could I just, we've got 2 minutes. There's a point burning inside of me that I just have to make, okay?
Perfect.
If it's okay, and I think it could create great value for people who are listening. A lot of businesses that we see are sold on a single offer. Okay, so that's where a business owner is not even thinking of selling, and a competitor comes and knocks on the door and says, "Hey, you know, how would you like to sell your business?" And to use your analogy, the business owner thinks his business is worth X when it's really worth something more, but the offer comes in at X, and it's a fun. I am a ardent believer that it's a fundamental mistake for most, not all, but most sellers, to say, okay, let me just take that unsolicited offer, and if it's within where I think I'd like to be, let me just take it. Because how do you know what your business is really worth unless you have another data point? Okay, so if any of your listeners find themselves or their clients in that position where they're being solicited with a single offer, before they say yes to it, as a complimentary service, we provide to our clients and prospective clients a couple hours of just reviewing what that offer is and giving our suggestions as to whether we think that's a really good offer or whether they're leaving money on the table. And anyway, so I had to get that out because I feel it's a mistake that so many people make at the end of a hard, of building a business through a lot of the sacrifice. And it disappoints me for them and their families when that happens.
Yeah, we're talking about very large assets, right? When it's not like you're putting items out on your driveway for a yard sale and you've got to, you know, tag for $5 and somebody offers you $2. We're talking about lifetimes worth of investment sometimes for people who have built significant value in their businesses. So I realize that we're on a tight time frame. I want to thank the two of you so much for spending time with us today. I think that we will have some keen interest from some of our database when we post this on our website and on YouTube. I want to thank the two of you for your expertise and your time and generosity, and hopefully we give an opportunity for people who are looking to have that conversation to now have a direction to point them in.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely.
That's
so
awesome.
you guys have an awesome day, and thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
As I said earlier, this is pre-recorded, which we don't often do. We usually do them live. And unfortunately, our guests were not able to do this live, so I did pre-record it today, and we're pushing it out to you at this time. Or if you're viewing it on YouTube or on our website later, it doesn't make any difference anyway. Just unfortunately, we're not able to take live questions from the viewing audience. So they did ask me to put a little bit of information on the screen at the end of this broadcast so that you would have their contact information and a little bit more about who Stillwater Capital is in case you were interested in contacting them or learning more about what they do, or if you wanted to point someone else to this information. So I'm going to put it up on the screen and go through it briefly. And if there's components that you need to see, just press pause and view it, and hopefully you'll find this interesting. So this is the contact information for both Ruby and Doug. And if you wish to reach out to them, there is both email addresses and phone numbers. So thank you for joining us today. We hope that you found the content engaging and insightful and useful to you. And we hope that you will join us again on a future webcast. So have a great day. Thanks.